Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Daisy. As you guys saw by the title, I will be reading my subscribers' spooky stories. So grab your snacks, grab your cobija, and let's get straight into it. Hello Daisy. One of the most haunted hotels in America is the Crescent Hotel. A bit of a backstory of the place: it is located in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and it was originally supposed to be an all-girls college. However, during the construction of the place, one of the construction workers, Michael, died. One day, while he was working, he saw a pretty woman walk by and tried to get her attention by catcalling her. He got distracted and ended up falling off the building, getting hit by a beam of the second floor, killing him at only 17 years old. He is known as the original spirit and as a flirt, as a lot of women report feeling someone touch them, shower curtains opening on their own, etc. Once the college for girls was built, there was this woman known as the woman in the fog, mist, or the falling woman. Guests have reported seeing a woman fall down from a second floor balcony at around 10:30 p.m. However, she wasn't the only one they report seeing. Some say that behind her, a man is visible. Some predict that maybe the woman got pregnant and her father pushed her off the balcony in anger. Some say it was her lover who betrayed her, and some say he was just a witness. Years later, a man named Norman Baker came to Eureka Springs. He was a millionaire who claimed he could cure cancer. He turned the college into a hospital where cancer patients could come and have their cancer cured by a serum. This obviously wasn't true, but what's sad is that the patients didn't know that, nor did the staff. The only person who knew the truth was Norman Baker. He knew his cure didn't help, but he didn't care. He wanted nothing more than the money. Almost every single cancer patient died, with 2 patients dying per month. He would send them home after giving them the serum, where they would die. He did this so it technically wouldn't be his fault. This went on for 2 years when he was finally caught, fined a small fee, and went to jail for a few years. When he got out, he spent the rest of his life in Florida, where he soon died from, you guessed it, cancer. Anyways, I visited there last year in early November, and they weren't lying at all about it being haunted. When I first got there, I was so excited. I was there with my parents and little brother. On the 4th floor of the hotel, there's a pizzeria, so we decided to go eat lunch there. There are 3 pairs of twin doors on one wall. One pair was propped open and the others were closed. We were seated at the opposite end of the open doors, but we were still along the same wall. I was sitting closest to the doors. The doors also had little square windows, so we could see the other side. While I was sitting there, I kept hearing tapping on the doors, almost light knocking. What was weird is that it was constant. Only me and my mom could hear it for some reason. I actually did get a video, but I won't be sharing for privacy reasons. Hope you understand. But it was really odd. That night, when we got back to the Airbnb, I was about to get into the shower when I noticed something. On my right thigh, I had a huge scratch mark. I was shocked. I had been wearing thick bell-bottom jeans that day, so my legs weren't at all exposed to anything. Not to mention the fact that it's pretty hard to scratch through thick jeans like that. I do own dogs. However, this was day 2 of our visit in Eureka Springs, so if that were the case, it would have been somewhat healed up by then, or I would have at least noticed it. The next day, me and my mother went back to the hotel to go on the ghost tour. Nothing really happened until we got to the morgue. The morgue is where they used to keep the dead bodies, so it was pretty haunted. While we were down there were about 8-10 other people, and it was pretty cramped there. I was standing next to an employee-only door with my arms crossed. Most people were along the other walls, so I had more space. Next to me, there was a man. He was maybe 18-20 years old, and he stood to my left. The tour guide began telling the story of a woman who had come down there not long ago and took a photo in one of the mirrors. As he was telling the story, I felt a tap on my shoulder. It wasn't something I could imagine, but it wasn't aggressive. It was firm. I didn't think much of it since I figured it was the man standing next to me, just changing his stance, accidentally bumping into me in the process. I kid you not, exactly 2 seconds later, I felt another tap on my elbow, and then a third on my hip. I finally turned my head to look at the man standing next to me, and he is nowhere near me. And that is when the tour guide says, and when she looked back at the photo, she saw a tall man, hands around her waist, reaching out to grab her. I've got a ton more paranormal stories to share, but I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for taking the time to read this. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Katya. I hope I said your name right, girl. Sorry if I butchered it. We had our Christmas Eve celebration that evening. When everyone started to leave, my aunt asked my mom if she could stay the night because my cousin had already dozed off an hour earlier. My mom approved, and they started to spread the mattress out in the living room floor. By the time they finished, it was well after midnight, and everyone started to drift off. In the middle of the night, I woke up and had no idea what time it was. I quietly sat up from my bed in fear after spotting a person out of the corner of my eye. It was a young girl who was staring at the wall. As a result, I turned to look at my sister, thinking it was her, but she was asleep. So my sleep-deprived mind immediately believed it was my niece. After that, I laid back down and hoped to fall asleep. Suddenly, I heard a noise, so I opened my eye to see her facing me. But she wasn't looking at me directly. Instead, she was staring blankly at the end of my bed. She started slowly leaving my room a few seconds later. My eyes started to close after that, and before I knew it, I was passed out. It was early in the morning, and I woke up to a conversation between my aunt and my parents. I got up to see what they were talking about, and heard them discussing something that happened last night. So I asked my aunt what they were on about. She began to tell me about her sleep paralysis experience. She told me that she woke up unable to move, but the only thing that was able to move was her eyes. She was terrified and scared, but then she heard footsteps coming up the stairs, slowly and softly, like someone walking on bare feet. As she watched, she saw a young girl with pigtails and ribbons in her hair walk into my room, and after a while, she left my room. She lay motionless in the living room when the young girl entered the kitchen and stood looking at her through the doorframe. When the little girl started running towards her and jumped on her in an attempt to suffocate her, she woke up screaming. This alerted my parents, who went to check on her. As soon as I picked up on her saying that the little girl entered my room, I remembered what happened to me the night before. We were all startled when I mentioned to her that I had also seen the girl, which disturbed us since we couldn't understand how I was awake and moving while she was motionless. Was I dreaming? I began to wonder. Who was the girl exactly? A ghost? A spirit? Or even a demon? How is it that she attacked my aunt, but not me? All these questions still haunt me to this day. Hi Daisy, my name is Erica. I have a super scary and creepy story to tell you. A couple of years ago, my friend and I bought an Ouija board and began to play it at my parents' house. I was never really a believer in the Ouija board. I always thought it was fake. At first, when we played it, nothing was happening. But after a couple of weeks, small things started to occur around the house. We started to hear footsteps, see dark shadows from the corners of our eyes, and things would randomly go missing. We told my parents, and my dad just said that it was the wind and that it was all in our heads. As time went by, things got worse. We started to feel like we were being watched, found random scratches on our bodies, and my dog, Peggy, would randomly start barking at nothing. We told my parents again, and my mom believed us because she started to experience things as well. But my dad just said that we were crazy because he never experienced anything. As time went by, things got worse. I remember one night I was sleeping and I woke up to the smell of rotting flesh. At first, I thought my dog farted, lol, but I noticed she wasn't even in my room. A couple of days later, I woke up to a dark shadow staring at me. I got so scared that I hid under the blankets until I somehow got the courage to run and turn the lights on. At this point, my dad started to experience things too, and it got to the point where we didn't want to be home anymore. My aunt called my dad and told him that her friend who practiced brujeria and was a medium told her to call him because she was 100% certain that whatever was in our home was demonic. My aunt's friend came to my parents' house and did a walkthrough, confirming what she told him on the phone. She reached out to a paranormal investigator group from New York, and between my aunt's friend and the paranormal investigators, they cleansed the house. Some days later, my parents, siblings, and I were able to finally go back home. I was so scared to walk inside, but as soon as we did, the house was different. It was like we could breathe again. It felt peaceful, and we weren't scared anymore. Fast forward to today, there are still some small things that happen in that house, but nothing compared to what we had experienced before. Hi Daisy, my grandpa is from a rancho named Nonoava, Chihuahua. One night, he was walking back from a baile with two of his brothers. They were walking by the plaza when they saw a woman in a white dress sitting on one of the benches. My great-grandma always warned my grandpa to be aware of a woman who was all in white. My grandpa, being drunk, went up to this lady and he asked her what she was doing out so late. She didn't say anything and walked back to this abandoned movie theater that I believe was burned down. My grandpa couldn't believe it because that movie theater hadn't been open in ages. He got home and told my grandma everything, which frightened her. So the next day, my grandpa went back, and guess what he finds? A white dress laying in front of the entrance of the movie theater. He said the woman was one of the victims from the burnt down theater, and her soul couldn't escape. So that was it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have a spooky story that you'd like to share with us, please feel free to send it in at daicyspooks@gmail.com. Thank you to everyone that has sent in their stories, because if it weren't for you guys, we wouldn't be listening to any spooky stories. I'm just the narrator, but you guys are bringing in all the tea, spooky tea. So thank you guys so much. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys are doing amazing in these holiday times. And I hope to see you guys all in my next one. Bye!